Have you ever stood in front of your class and felt like you were teaching a room full of completely different individuals, not just one single group? Yeah, of course you have. Well, today, we're going to look at how to turn that exact challenge into your biggest teaching strength, especially when you're gearing up for the TKT exam. Let's dive in.
And just so you know, everything we're about to cover comes straight from the official Cambridge TKT course material from Module 1. We're zeroing in on Unit 14, Learner Needs, to give you a really clear and reliable guide to nailing this section of the test.
So here's our game plan. We'll kick things off at the basics, then we'll break down the 6 key types of needs you have to know. After that, we'll talk about why this is also important, I'll give you a practical toolkit to use, and then we'll wrap it all up with some rock-solid tips for passing the TKT.
All right, first things first. What in the world are learner needs? The easiest way to think about them is as the foundation. They're the concrete slab you pour before you can build anything effective on top.
Now, for both your classroom and the exam, this definition is your North Star. It's the specific language, skills, support, and conditions a student needs to really learn English. Notice it's not just about grammar gaps, it's the whole package.
And we can break this down into 4 key areas. First, you've got the personal dimension, their age, their hobbies, what makes them tick. Then there's the linguistic, which is just their current level of English. You also have the psychological. How confident or motivated are they? And finally, the classroom dimension itself. What kind of environment and tools do they need to thrive?
Okay, so now let's get into the real nitty-gritty of the TKT syllabus. It takes that foundation and gets way more specific, breaking needs down into 6 distinct types. And you're going to need to know these inside and out. This is the heart of the unit, right here. First up, the core language and skills needs. Language needs are the building blocks, things like gaps in their grammar or vocabulary. Skill needs are all about performance. Are they struggling with speaking, listening, reading, or writing? And then you have functional needs, which is all about using English to get something done in the real world, like ordering food or writing an email for work.
The next 3 are all about the learner as a person. Affective needs deal with feelings, their confidence, their motivation, their anxiety. Learning needs are about how they learn best. Do they need visuals? Do they like working in groups? And finally, context needs. This is their why. Why are they in your class? Is it for an exam? For their job?
So, you might be thinking, okay, that's a lot to keep track of. Why do we spend so much time on this? Well, because this is what separates just teaching from targeted teaching. It's the difference between throwing spaghetti at the wall and actually serving a meal your students want to eat. And the payoff is huge. It's immediate. When you start tailoring your lessons to student needs, you see their motivation shoot up, their engagement in class goes through the roof, and suddenly the lesson feels relevant. They get why they're learning what you're teaching.
And this isn't just theory. It gives you real solutions for real classroom problems. Got a class with low motivation? Try addressing their affective and context needs. Do your lessons feel a bit disconnected or irrelevant? Bring in their functional and personal needs. Is student progress all over the map? Well, that's your cue to differentiate based on their specific skill needs.
Okay, so we know what the needs are and why they matter. But how do we actually find them? Well, it's time to put on your detective hat. This next part is all about the tools you can use to figure out exactly what your learners require.
Here are 6 essential tools for your detective kit. Placement tests give you a good baseline. Questionnaires and interviews let you just ask them. Classroom observation is incredibly powerful. Just watching them work tells you so much. Analyzing their common mistakes points you right to the language gaps. Having students set their own goals makes their needs crystal clear. And of course, continuous feedback keeps that conversation going all semester long.
Finding the needs is half the battle. Now for the really important part. What do you actually do with all this information? It's time to put your findings into action and really transform your lessons.
And the difference is like night and day. A generic lesson might have everyone do the exact same textbook activity. A needs-based lesson, it offers choices based on interest and level. In a generic lesson, the teacher might do all the talking, but in a needs-based lesson, students get to practice the specific things they need, focusing on both fluency and accuracy.
So here's a super simple action plan you can use. Start adapting your materials, offer choices and be flexible. Scaffold your tasks so students at different levels can all find success.
Give them targeted practice for their weak spots, and always, always try to bring their real-world interests into the classroom. All right, let's bring it all home. The moment you've been waiting for. How is the TKT exam actually going to test you on all of this? What do you really need to know?
Now listen up, because this is probably the single most important tip for this unit. The exam isn't just about definitions, it's about application. It loves to give you a scenario and ask you to match a teacher's action to the specific student need it addresses.
And here's a classic trip up on the exam, so let's get this crystal clear. A language need is about the what. It's the content, like needing to learn the past simple tense. A learning need is about the how. It's the process, like needing visual aids to understand that grammar point. Don't get those two mixed up.
So when you get to a scenario question on the exam, put that detective hat back on. Read the description of the class really carefully. Look for clues in what the students say, the mistakes they're making, or their background info. Those clues are your signposts, pointing you directly to the need you're supposed to identify.
And that's pretty much a wrap. We've gone over what learner needs are, the 6 main types, and how to use this knowledge both in your classroom and on the exam. So, I'll just leave you with this one final thought to take with you. What's the very first need you're going to investigate in your class tomorrow?